Well, good evening, tubers. Just got 2 videos uploaded today, a stamp collection for my friend and that stellar gift pack I received from Roxy Marie 17. I've been trying to catch in a few videos today. The subpage just been full lately. And thanks to Mother Tuber's actions, a lot of times I gotta watch these bottom videos before I can watch some of the top videos, or she drops them bottom vids on me, which is always aggravating, because if you don't remember exactly who it was, you forgot who posted what, and you miss out on some, and I really don't like missing out on any. I wish Mother Tuber would just leave our sub pages alone, and I've emailed them several times, but need more than just myself to email them. And I know I'm not subbed to near as many that subbed to me out there, and one day I promise I'll try and fix y'all in. But, you know, we start up here with the numbers, and we got a few of them, and then it goes into the A's, and there's a bunch of them. And we get into the B's, and there's a bunch of B's, and C's, and then the D's, and F's. There's a ton of F's and a whole bunch of G's, and it just goes and goes and goes. A whole bunch of J's, a few K's, quite a few L's on there, whole bunches of M's. There's all kinds of M's and all kinds of O's and P's, you know, stuff like this, and this guy, and I mean, you try and sub to everyone you can, but it's hard to sub to everybody that subs to you when you got 500 subscribers, you know. And I enjoy everybody's videos in the highest regards, you know. But enough of that. Let's go look at some rocks. That's what we got this turned on for. Oops, sorry, getting turned around here. This is volume 6 of my collection. These are my 2 main kind of cases for woodland points, maybe, but they do have some archaic stuff mixed in them. Many of you have seen this point here. This is the first Dixon I ever found here in Missouri. It's also tattooed right here on my arm with the tip restored on it. Dug this up in a yard, burying a dog. This was my first field find Dixon, right here. Has a huge thinning strike in the base, which is really common for some of your best Dixon points made. But these notches are intentionally notched into this point. Some have said maybe for a fish spear, but who really knows unless we were there. Like here's a mid-archaic point. This here is what we call around here a big slough point. Some people will call them fairy points or whatever. I have a really stellar one over here in this case. Nice and thin. Not some of the prettiest material we have in mosaic or chert, but still nevertheless a nice point. And then it appears like it even has an impact break that happened one time, and they may have resharpened it, but they were a good resharpener because it's flat as can be, no twist whatsoever. And this would be the first drill I ever found. Dug that up in an overhang. Again, it's a Dixon with the great big thinning strike in the base. Sometimes they'll have them on both sides. Just missing some of that shoulder, but that shoulder was missing when they threw it down. You know, and then I have a lot of points in some of my cases where they're missing a little bit. Like this Snyder's right here. It's missing just a little bit off of that ear. And trying to work my flexible tripod here. Missing a little bit of that ear off of there, but everything else is there. And some awesome colors in it. Purple and pink. Little quartz pocket right there. All shiny. Big stripe of purple on it. And then, like I've said before, we have, actually by my brother-in-law, this is a Gibson point, but this is some really strong mozarkite right here. And my brother-in-law, who has been going to school to be a geologist for his job, that he has to be, has said that all mozarkite is actually a quartz. It was all clear quartz at one time, but over the millions of years, from whatever minerals they've been laying in, is where the color comes from. I always love that rust patina on points when you find them out in the field. And this is kind of like, my secondary case. Here's a hopewell made down into a hafted knife type of point. Here's a little bitty Jack's Reef that's striped, but missing the ear on that side. Got tape on there, of course, to hold it. Here's like my biggest triangular point I've ever found, and I believe it may have had a small ear coming off of there, but dug this up in that first shelter I ever dug in, along with many other things. But my biggest triangle point, and who knows, it may have been one a base broke and they just reworked it. It's hard to know, really hard to know. Like this here's a stellar little Snyder's, all sharpened up to a tip and super thin. I mean, we really have some thin points out here. With mozarkite, and hard as it was, by the time these guys got to that ripe age, most of them were master nappers. I mean, you had to be with that stuff, or you came out with points, you know, that aren't so perfect or thick, you know. Big stacks on them, stuff like that. Lots of Dixons in here. There's a little Dixon I dug up where, a couple other people have been before. Another person showed that spot on YouTube. We won't mention no names, but there's another Dixon out of the big sea of dirt, which it's a awesome Dixon site. This is a really cool Dixon here, just with the color and the patterns it has in it and everything. I mean, like, look at this great big thinning strike right in the middle, and it has that black spot on it and this red tip. But it either got freeze popped, which is what I believe happened to this point, after it was heat treated, if that's the case. This probably had a lot of natural fractures in it, and as ice and water thaw out and freeze up, that ice walks into spots. The ice will walk straight up a roof from it just water freezing. That's how it works. And Flint Spall's at least on agreement with me with the freeze pops. Here's an awesome little Johnson point I have. And our Johnson bases out here, a Johnson is a downstep from a Dalton. Most like this one are ground really good, but the vases vary quite a bit. We've got some that have great big longer ears and more of a concaved base, and some you have with a less concaved and more of a straighter base to them. But the flaking usually tells it all. One of like my favorite Kramer points, just because it was a special hunt that day. This here's one of my favorite, like, well, some say it's not an Afton because it's a little too thick. Here's actually one of my better Aftons, and if you can see this little barb right here, and this little shoulder barb there. In Missouri, it's a straight trait for our Aftons to have those barbs. Now, not a lot of them don't. Maybe some of them do, and then they get sharpened off or something. But this point here has an impact break that comes right next to the tip, and just a real small. I don't think that's how they were napping it out, because there's nappings that go this way that disappear right there. So I think they actually chucked us at something and an impact happened, but it just didn't take the tip off all the way. Who's to really know unless we were there? Yeah, let's go look at this. Well, here's like one of the first Gibsons I ever found. Dug this up in a cave. And everything I dug in that hole in that cave of mine come out brown and came with that high calcium stuff on it. But let's go check out this one. And this one here, like I said, this has a couple archaic points in it. Here's one of my best table rocks I have. I don't have very many, and definitely don't have many in a case, but that's one of them. Dug that out of that same hole in that cave. The fairy point is an archaic point. Let me see if I can't fix my flexible dealy whopper do. Here's a archaic side notch. Awesome purple in it. Just awesome purple. And that's something a lot of our points we don't get out of is solid purple. You'll find purple in a lot of different points, but it's just never solid. Here's a little B drill tip I found, but I think it was made this way and not broken like that. If you used to look at this in person, you'd probably think the same thing. Some of my other favorite middle archaic points, besides our big Smetleyvilles, are these Robinson points right here. And these both came from the same field. And I have one out of the creek that's in one of my creek cases. But because of my friend's property that I've dug on before, and it's pretty much a slap middle archaic site. There's been some older stuff found there and one bird point, but me and Terry believe that there's a chance that the Smetley people made possibly the Robinson, and this would have maybe been like maybe the first real dart point for a large bow. Thick bow, thicker shafts, you know, big shafts compared to what they went down to. You know, that's not to say that that's actually the truth. That's just our opinion. I mean, the only place you find most of your Robinsons is they're mixed in right with the middle archaic stuff. Mostly all Smetleyville stuff. Here's one of my only coop points out of the dirt. I have two out of the creek, but a stellar little point, nice and thin. Here's a Super Sweet Kings. Found that last spring. I know a lot of you remember seeing that point. Just awesome, awesome material. Got one little chip in the base right there. And maybe a little bit of ear was taken off right there. Here's one of my first apple creeks I ever found. Very, very stellar material. Nice quartz pocket shining away in there. Here's a apple creek a lot of people look at first and think that it's missing an ear. But actually, if you look at it correctly, you can see 4 strikes through there. Come on, focus. That shows they sharpened it off for some reason. And who knows, maybe it's because they were using it like that in their hand on their knife or something, and that kept hitting them right there. Who knows? That's also another theory. Another one of my favorite little Schneider points. Come from the little sea of dirt. A lot of you see me find this right side shallow notch drill last season, last spring with Boomer out in the big sea of dirt. Really cool drill. I really like it. This is one of my, except for bird points now, I have quite a few red bird points, but full size points, this is my only true all red point, a Gibson point. The big sea of dirt. Very, very, very stellar find. No, it's just a Gibson. Here's another one of my full awesome quartz points. This is a big Hopewell point. Tip side was just sharpened up that way. I'd say this was probably a bigger point at one time. And then this thing is translucent. I get the light to hit it right. Come on, work with me here, light. I mean, even in the black spots of it, it's still translucent. I mean, I can see my finger move through that. Oops, sorry. That black area right there. Really trying to keep these collection vids down short so they're not so long. I'm starting to work on 20 minutes, so let's get through some of these real fast. One of my best Dixons right here. Got a killer needle tip on it. Nicely made point. Awesome material. Now, here's a case, you know, a nice Dixon point. Made pretty nicely. Nice and thin, but I know so many guys would throw a point like this in the bucket just because it's got the tip missing a little bit. I can't seem to do that. Here is a very little stellar Afton point that I actually took a friend hunting with me in the big sea of dirt, and they had found this, but one day they was needing to sell stuff, and I just happened to have a little extra money. And anyone they ever take, you know, whatever they find is theirs to keep, but if they ever have to get rid of it, they got to give me first chance. This point here, I love this King's point. I found this the very first time I ever went over to go to Devin Wayne 69's hunting spot, my close buddy, and who I met from here, and we've just become awesome friends over time. I mean, that kid is one stellar dude. I mean, really. And dug this out of that creek bank. There's a video of it, and it's partially translucent, and I got a light bulb out. I have to replace that. See, one of my best right side shallow notch points that I dug up in the overhang. It's got a stellar like design on that side. With some real nice mosaic. Here's another mid-archaic to early archaic side notch. I'm not sure what type of point it is. It's kind of a little bit rough. The tip was taken off by a slight impact break. But the way this thing is flaked out, especially on the edge work, it shows that it was a serrated point at one time before it was sharpened down more. I mean, there's a few serrations on it now, but I don't think nothing like there was. And after you've studied serrated points enough, you really learn to realize the flaking on the edge and what makes them serrated. Here's another little favorite Kramer. Here's a really stellar Dixon, found last season. Super thin. And made out of our ulitic material. Here's a killer little Steuben. And to me, What really defines a stube in our area is, if you can see it, this side of the base has been beveled, and then this side of the base has a beveled edge on it. And actually, they're not really slight bevels, they're pretty strong beveled edges. Come on, bogus! I know it's because there's background stuff in the way. But after this vid, I got one more collection vid to do of my bird points and my eccentrics that I have. And just wanted to get this one out there. I've been meaning to do it for days. But some days are rough, some days are good. Oh, and a couple of friends of mine asked if I'd show my update of my beard on film so they could see what it's gotten to. So here's a little look. It's just getting really gray through the years. But I don't know, I measured it here a couple days back, and it was at 1 3/4 mostly. I went 2 years without being shaved, or being shaved clean, and just here recently, I don't know, maybe the cold of winter, maybe he wanted me to grow it again. So here's a cool little Dixon. Oh, there was one thing I was wanting to bring up. You know, so many people like this little archaic side notch here. Has so much variation to it, it's hard to say what style of point it is. And then it's thick and rough, kinda, you know. And we find a lot of points like that. But I think a lot of people forget that that's all they did back then. They had to produce these every single day. Every day. So I think a lot of them that we find that are, you know, a little more rougher, a little bit thicker or whatever, it's from the younger generation. And then as you got to the older generation, you know, even with this tip missing, you know, the flaking on this point is just amazing. Just amazing. I've had some people want to call us a hidden valley just because of the flaking and the fact that the beveled edge kind of slightly comes down on the base too. The base is beveled just like that afton I just showed you right there and right there. But that's also a trait to really nicely made Dixons. Well, we'll get enough with the gabbing. And like always, you know, I can't thank you guys enough for your views and your comments. Y'all are extremely highly appreciated. And I hope everyone has a stellar 2013. And hope everyone fills their collection even more full this year. Hopefully our drought's about to come to an end. And get back to some good old honest ground pounding. And some sea of gravel. Because I miss that creek bad. But I'll get off here. This video's getting too long. Thanks, y'all. Later. Peace out.